Hi. How is everybody? It's freezing here. How is everyone? Hi. What's going on? I'm going to get comfortable. Oh. How is everybody? Hi, Indy Cindy. Hi, Fig. Hello. Cold and rainy. Yeah. Hi. Hey, Marar. Yeah, it was beautiful yesterday. So I'm in New York and it was beautiful yesterday. Got out, went to the park, blah, blah, blah. And today I woke up and I'm like, it's freezing. So it's like that time of year. But yeah, so what's going on? So, you know, I'm going to talk. So first of all, did everybody get an opportunity? I put up a little trailer because I know some people had mentioned needing some kind of grounding because there's so many players and things. Did anybody happen to look at the trailer? Because it kind of sets out what the key highlights are that I want to get to. So did it make sense though? I mean, so okay, so everybody did. You know what? Yeah, you know what? I'm sorry I didn't have voiceover for it, and I realized that people that are vision impaired, and I apologize for that. So maybe we'll just go through that one more time. Because I do really want to make sure that in the midst of all the hidden true crime of it all and the murder sheet of it all, is that to me the foundational principle here is the lack of transparency, and why you shouldn't trust certain news sources. But do you guys mind that if we run through it again? Let me just add this here, and I'm just going to read this. So actually, is this a video? Oh, for crying out loud. Okay. So the public access attorney, Meg Christensen. And so I'm going to mention Meg Christensen here. She's going to come in later in the conversation. But this is right at the beginning of, you see it's from November of 2022. And I pulled this down from a local Fox station. Public access attorney Meg Christensen filed a brief on behalf of several Indiana media outlets arguing the PC should be revealed in the interest of full disclosure, despite prosecution claims that the release would jeopardize the ongoing investigation. Obviously, we know. Hang on. And then we have, one moment, please. Weird. It's not changing. Sorry, guys. Let's see if I can do it this way, because I do think it's helpful if people haven't seen it. Hey, Judgy. Hey. Here we go. All right, this is the one. Okay, so yeah, we already talked about Meg Christensen filed a brief. And this is interesting. So she, in the article, it went on to say the investigation is not ongoing with respect to Richard Allen. That's the key point, she said. The public has contributed to that investigation. At least the public thinks it has. And now that he's been charged, the public has a right to know what those charges are and the basis for those charges. Christensen said media coverage also assures that Allen's constitutional right to face his accusers and know the evidence against him will be protected. So then, of course, McClellan, on that same November 2022, filed that motion for a gag order. And this is a key part on basically everybody that wasn't nailed down. The gag order sought to encompass all the people. And this I think is like one of the chef's kiss. It's like an own goal. It's like McClellan kneeing himself in the nuts. It's all this. It's all the things. He says his reason for the gag order was he cited inaccurate media reporting, and media coverage in the news is likely to produce a prejudice in the community, making it impossible to have a fair and impartial jury to ensure they have a fair trial. Now, I'm going to take this down for a minute. So, because Meg is right. She filed her limited appearance on behalf of a slew of Indiana news outlets. And because it is, what do we know now after the fact? Well, what she said is true, that transparency leans in favor of fair trial for all involved, most especially Richard Allen. And naturally, Nick's like, no, there's been some bad media reporting, and we don't want to, and importantly, so make a mental note about the issue with tainting the jury pool, because that's going to become critical here when we talk about Murder Sheet specifically. And about that jury pool situation, right? We want to have a clean jury pool. We want to have accurate reporting. So I thought maybe to kick off the portion of my presentation about the Murder Sheet being, and Kevin Greenlee specifically, who is the attorney, right? Making a public filing an appearance on behalf of the Murder Sheet. That's a problem. It's a problem for a number of reasons, but we'll get to it. I wanted to tee up a little bit of the reason why bad journalism and bad lawyering from the likes of the Murder Sheet, from the likes of Nick McClellan, why it's more critical than ever that in fact that people know what the hell goes on at trial. Let me share this with all y'alls, because this is a video, and maybe some of you have seen it. It's hilarious / horrifying, but it's an Indiana representative. Let's see here. And I'm like, what better way to illustrate some of the things wrong with ye olde situation in Indiana than to play a little of this lady. So let's listen. Here we go. Now this is a let's see, who is this lady? She's a brainiac. Let's see. I don't know what her name is. Wait a second. Tell me if you can hear it. Come on. Y'all. Did you hear that? Let's hear it again. This is, again, an Indiana representative or congresswoman. I don't know, but she's a local Indiana person. I think it's like, did you all hear what she said? So she said, and it was hard to tell, but she said, you violated the law, no due process for you. Okay, so that's good. What she says is, exactly, if you violate the law, and her name is, okay, here it is, Indiana Representative Sparts. You violated the law. You are not entitled to due process. That's what it says. So that is, that's what it says. And so from holy shit, right? But is it any wonder? Is it any wonder, based on the lack of transparency and the bad reporting out of Indiana on the Richard Allen trial? And we'll go to, some of the issues. I watched Nick Starrow's, he did the Lord's work this morning, with watching the HTC thing. And we'll get back to that in a minute, but I want to talk about Murder Sheet specifically and why it is an issue that Kevin Greenlee signed on as a limited appearance in the case. And so let's talk through the timeline here. So the first gag order, let me pull that up just to remind everybody where we started. Nick McClellan bent over backward, to let me just make sure, bent over backward to make sure that there was a gag order in place. And let's see, why is this still this old bat? Hang on. He went out of his way to make sure people couldn't access public information. It's the reason trials are supposed to be public. And so much so that news organizations had to go out of their way to dump a ton of money on the front end into attorneys to try to sue to get access, plus on the back end to get access to the public trial, the exhibits that are in the trial. So if you will remember, cast your mind back to, and I want you to also note the cause number, okay? Because the cause number here matters, because somebody was trying to tell me earlier that Kevin Greenlee was not a party to the Richard Allen case. And in fact, he was, because he filed an appearance under that, that case number here. So did a lot of other people, but like Carol Weineke, David Hennessy, Margaret Christensen, some of the electoral, all of the different attorneys filed appeals for different reasons, or filed limited appearances for different reasons. And what none of those other lawyers have is a podcast. None of those other lawyers, Carol Weineke doesn't have a podcast. Lord knows that Murder Sheet would have you believe that Michael Osbrook somehow is getting rich off of running some sort of YouTube page. He doesn't have a podcast. None of the people that we're going to talk about that were in the intervenor list have a podcast, nor did any of these other lawyers who were parties for a limited appearance in the case, none of them contacted Richard Allen and asked him about his case, which Kevin Greenlee and Anya Kane, while there was an appearance on file for Kevin Greenlee representing Mystery Sheet LLC, reached out to a represented party, and we'll get to that. And that's a problem. It's a problem because of the narrative. It's a problem because it is an ethical violation to who laid the rails. So, gag order in place, right? And that's another thing. I don't know where the gag order comes into, but we're going to focus on the ethical rules, because it makes a goddamn difference. Because here's the reason it makes a difference with Murder Sheet. Here's the reason. There is not a lawyer in the state of Indiana who has come from the defense bar who they have not gone out of their way to either out publicly through private chats, to just malign, for 6 months prior to the trial, 7 months prior to the trial, completely taint the jury pool with their perspective of how terrible the defense team was, ergo Richard Allen. Yet all of the times that they're talking about these other lawyers, right? All of the times that they're talking about these other lawyers, they don't cite any rules of ethic. They don't cite any rules of professional conduct. They don't. They don't cite any of it. It's all mere speculation. They just, and I think the thing that it bugs me so much, because this moral high ground, and it's not even, I was trying to think of what to call it. And it's not even hypocrisy. It's like weaponized hypocrisy, because they know what they're doing. They have to. Or in legal speak, they knew or should have known that what they were doing was in violation, direct violation of Indiana Rules of Professional Conduct 4.2. It just was. And I can make an argument for some other ones. So let's just start, shall we? So we got the gag order, right? Let's see. Then we have, we have then our first, so the first intervening attorney was Meg Christensen, who filed that brief on behalf of Transparency versus Nick, saying, nay, nay, nay. We don't want to taint that sweet, sweet, fair jury pool. We go to June 8th, 2023, and we have this. Now, notice, please, with me. This is filed, you can see up here, 6/8/2023, Carroll County Circuit Court. We have limited appearance by an attorney. And again, this is nothing weird, right? If you're going to intervene on behalf of whoever, you're going to file a limited appearance. I suggest it's a little weird if you have a podcast and you're representing yourself. But anyway, party classification, intervening party. I, the undersigned attorney, listed on this form, now appears in this case for the limited purpose of requesting public access to court records. This limited appearance is on behalf of the following party member. Party member. This is important as well. So when people say they were never a party to the case, they were a party to the case, because Kevin Greenlee entered an appearance for Mystery Sheet LLC, DBA, murder sheet. Applicable attorney information for service required by blah, blah, blah rule. So that's getting service, right? So getting service of all the things in the court record. Are there other party members? No. Okay. So anyway, this is the filing. So this is the filing plus his license number. Oops, I don't want to give their phone number. Sorry about that. So again, 6/8/2023. Okay. Now, I would like to move on to then. Let's fast forward. Now, they've got up to all sorts of quackery. Legal quackery as well as journalistic quackery in the intervening time period. But I'd like to fast forward and bring you along to the April 12th, 2024. Now, I've mentioned this before, but let's see. Let me pull it up. I've mentioned it before because it absolutely bugs the ever-loving shit out of me. But let me read you the rule first. So let's bring up yield rule. And again, remember, Osbrook, Weineke, Baldwin, Rosie, any lawyer that wasn't nailed down in the Indiana bar were unsafe from their self-righteous indignation. Yet they didn't cite a single ethical rule. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm also not an idiot. So let's see the rule. Let's roll that beautiful bean footage. One moment, please. Here we go. Okay. Here we have yield, Indiana rules, professional conduct. Okay. Let's see. We'll get back to some of these, but this is the one I love. I mean, there's so many things, but this is the one. Okay. Now, bear in mind, we know that Kevin Greenlee, Esquire, has filed appearance on behalf of Mystery Sheet LLC in June 8th, 2023 to obtain some records. We can talk about what that was later, but that's the start date. Here is the rule that Murder Sheet LLC, represented by their counsel, should have known when they contacted Richard Allen, a represented at that time in April 2024 legally innocent man, about his case. Here's the rule. I mean, it's only been around since 2005, so maybe he hasn't read it yet. In representing a client, a lawyer shall not communicate about the subject of the representation with the person the lawyer knows to be represented by another lawyer in the matter, unless the lawyer has the consent of the other lawyer or is authorized by law or a court order. Okay, that's the top line here. Subsection 1. This rule contributes to the proper functioning of the legal system by protecting a person who has chosen to be represented by a lawyer in a matter against possible overreaching by other lawyers who are participating in the matter, interference by those lawyers with the client-lawyer relationship, and the uncounseled disclosure of information relating to the representation. He is still representing Mystery Sheet LLC. This rule applies to communication with any person who is represented by counsel concerning the matter to which the communication relates. And this is the key, because before I realized that when I started talking about him reaching out, Murder Sheet reaching out to Richard Allen, I was just generally pissed because you don't do that. But when I realized that he still had an appearance on file when they contacted him, then it's like, holy crap. Woo, dog. The rule applies even though the represented person initiates or consents to the communication. So that's interesting. Richard Allen did not initiate any contact. So the rest of these, now there's one more pertinent part to this. The next few points talk about, communications by between organizations and investigative activities of lawyers, all this stuff. But this part down here, the prohibition on the communication of a represented person only applies in circumstances where the lawyer knows that the person is in fact represented in the matter to be discussed. This means that the lawyer has actual knowledge of the fact of the representation, but such actual knowledge may be inferred from the circumstances. Thus, the lawyer cannot evade the requirement of obtaining the consent of the counsel by closing eyes to the obvious. Closing eyes to the obvious. Okay, now, let's see. We'll go back to, okay, this is, what's his name, filing his doodah. So then right, April 20, here's our first date of interest when it comes to Rule 4.2 in the case of Murder Sheet being a party to the Richard Allen murder case on the same case number. Now, some of you have heard this before, but it bears reading again. That this is an extraction from Mr. Allen's tablet records. On, again, April 12th, 2024. Okay. This is incoming to Richard Allen from Greenlee, Kevin and Anya. Right? So right there. And I'm going to read this again because it's even worse now that I know that Kevin and Anya knew or should have known that this was it feels like meddling. I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but holy hell. Let me just read this for y'all's. Hello, Mr. Allen. My name is Anya Kane. I'm a journalist. I'm covering your case. I was wondering if I could ask you a few questions. How are you today? How is Wabash Valley compared to Westville? What sort of things do you do to pass the time? It'd be great to talk to you about your case too, but I understand if you don't want to. Just let me know. I'd mostly be curious to know if you still want to go through a trial and use an actual innocence defense, or if you're looking to plead guilty and make a deal. All the best, Anya. Keep that in mind. And I want to note here, and this is important. because they contacted Richard Allen twice. Twice. I think I hear my cat. Once this time directly, and there's no getting around this. And one of the things I will note here too is that you can see that, and I don't know why you can't actually see it, but they put money on his books, which is fine for a person who isn't a party to the case, who isn't asking about a double homicide case, who doesn't feel like they need to insert themselves in a case where maybe their meddling in it could be an issue. Okay, so they put money on the books. What that says to me as a journalist, if I'm calling somebody in the pen, or if I'm trying to get a hold of somebody, I am going to put money on their books because I want them to return my call. Two things to remember. They reached out to Richard Allen twice. Once in April when they were party to the case under Mystery Sheet LLC intervening. They had not filed, Kevin had not filed a motion or a notice of completion, and that'll come up too. He did not remove himself from the case. Then they contacted Richard Allen again after he was yeeted from the case, and we'll get to that, to ask Richard Allen about a supposed rumor that Kathy Allen was going to divorce him. The reason that this is important is because after this contact, we go to their next podcast. And this came up. Oops, I don't know why the rules are up here still. Okay. Oh, I did a more complete job. Okay, so April 23rd, 2024. So roughly a week after they reached out, right, to Richard Allen. They go and they do a podcast. And the podcast is called, and you can go listen to it to your heart's content, Murder Sheet, the Delphi murders, state's objection to the defendant's motion to suppress. And it's a barn burner, as most of them are. But you'll have to scroll all the way down to the very bottom of the transcript if, like me, you can't listen to it. Because this is where they talk about, and it's telling, because they don't mention, we reached out to Richard Allen and tried to get a comment. Yet, what they do in this particular episode is they do opine on whether or not Richard Allen wants to plead guilty. Kevin, quote, and it makes me, a lot of the defense filings recently make me wonder if they're still going for a factual innocence defense. Anya. Oh, feigning, right? Feigning. Oh, wow. Okay. What? Oh, okay. That's a heck of a thing to drop at the end of an episode, Kevin. What do you mean? Quelle surprise. Kevin, well, I'm just curious. They're saying they want the information from the phone taken out, blah, 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 blah. It just makes me wonder, right? It makes me wonder if he still wants to go with a factually innocence defense. And I will just take you right on back. Hey, buddy, what's the scoop? What's the scuttlebutt? You want to plead guilty? .2. This means that the lawyer has actual knowledge of the fact of the representation, but such actual knowledge may be inferred by the circumstances. Thus, the lawyer cannot evade the requirement of obtaining the consent of counsel by closing eyes to the obvious. It was bad. It was bad when they contacted him. It's worse, in my opinion, as an amateur, as a professional journalist who's reported in the sphere of absolute fuckery for nearly 20 years. It was even worse that were still on the docket. And it matters. It matters because what did they do after all of this? You know, that jury pool that everybody was so worried about? And again, the 4.2 violation, I think, is real clear. I mean, based on this, I wouldn't want that man. I wouldn't want him to be my lawyer. Why would I want to? Why? I mean, but 4.2 is probably the clearest cut of all of these because, hey, bud, what's up? And not even like contacting just whoever, right? Who's out there, just your regular old like DUI and drunk tank guy, or, even like a drunken disorderly, or, I mean, even like an attempted murder. It's the biggest goddamn double murder that Indiana has seen, of course, because nobody pays attention to Florida anymore, but we'll go back. Um, it's a huge deal. And so what happened after all of this, right? So we move on from the April 12th contact that flies in the face of Rule 4.2. We go on then to what I just mentioned was yield a podcast from the 23rd, not making any mention of their contact because I'm gonna suggest that they knew. That'd be a big no-no. Okay, so hang on. So then if we just, and we know over the summer they had a heyday. We know over the summer that they had a heyday with leaked documents and leaked private chats when they, you know what? Actually, I'm going to show you this real quick because these people.
They were given thousands of messages.
Oh, yeah. This brings me to this portion. Okay. So I don't remember when the great doxing of the Drew Process gang came out, but does anybody remember when this was? I can't remember. It was maybe, when was I call it the great doxorama of Scoodly Poop of 2024. So this is when they're getting ready to chuck everybody under the bus because they're such morally upstanding. So keep in mind, when this comes out, this is after they've made contact with Richard Allen and asked him about his plea. I asked him, hey, bud, don't pay any attention to the fact that me and my husband is a lawyer who is filed a limited appearance in your murder trial. Yet here we are on your doorstep asking all about your plea deal. Do you want one? This is after that. After that, when they didn't tell you that they contacted him, right? Because that's the key.
From that group.
Son of a bitch. Come on. What you doing, bud? Come on now. What? Why is it not playing? Please stand by. Here we go. Let's try it this way.
Cody. Yeah, guys, the co-host of the Murder Sheet podcast tell me they were given thousands of messages from that group chat that spanned over several months.
We were quite surprised to see that people closely affiliated with the defense team were in such extensive contact with internet sleuths, because previously this case was derailed by a leak.
Okay. Personally, they were stunned that public defenders who can't get any money for any help on a case where the state has all the funds would, in a private chat with no attorney who is appearing in the matter, no appearing, right? Kara Weineke, who they make come out, we'll get there. Kara Weineke was not on the case. And they came out and talked about her private chats with internet sleuths about, we're going to talk about jury because it's coming up again and it pisses me off. These people have gotten away with this shit for so long. And the reason why it bothers me so much is because Meg, what's her name? I want to make sure I get her name right. Yeah, public access attorney Meg Christensen in 2022 went to bat for all of us to have transparency. And what happens in a vacuum when these two? So anyway, they are clutching their pearls over all you weirdo internet sleuths, right? All you cranks.
According to screenshots obtained by Anya Kane and Kevin Greenlee, the group chat was called Due Process Gang.
Oh, because you know what? Due process. Who among us? Who among us, right? Due process sucks.
It consisted of Kara Weineke, a lawyer.
You know what? You can do a lot of things, but you cannot come for Miss Weineke.
Who represented Richard Allen in the fight to keep his attorneys on the case.
Okay. I want to make clear. You hear that? That had represented Mr. Allen's attorneys and Mr. Allen in an attempt to keep his attorneys on the case. Kara Weineke filed a notice of completion and removed herself from the case in November of 2023, before 2024, if you're keeping track. There's only one lawyer here mentioned or appearing who is still on Richard Allen's docket as a limited appearance, and it's not Kara Weineke.
An attorney representing Baldwin and Rosie was also in the group, along with several YouTubers who talk about true crime cases, including the Delphi murders.
The reason our source did this is because he became very concerned
Bullshit.
about the level of contact between sort of internet folks and people who are affiliated with the defense team.
What about people who are parties to the case? DBA Murder Sheet, represented by Kevin Greenlee Esquire. What about the deeply disturbing ethical violations that is you've exposed yourself to by contacting a man who was factually at that point innocent, who had been eating his own feces, and you reach out, hey buddy, how's it going? And they're concerned. They're concerned about internet sleuths. Nobody in that private chat violated an ethical rule. This fellow's sitting right here. No. And the problem is that these people set the tone. And that jury pool that Nick McClellan was so closely guarding at the beginning of my little presentation, the one he didn't want tainted, these people claim 1 million downloads a month. Woo! Talk about taint. I mean, I know you don't want to, but It's right there, folks.
Weineke told me in a statement the group chat was filled with people who love true crime like she does. They talked about cases happening across the country. She claims the screenshots were obtained illegally, saying, recently, out of revenge, a person who knew the password of one of my friends accessed her X account and copied all of her private conversations. He gave those conversations to Murder Sheet, who read some of them aloud on recent episodes. The conversations were blended together and the messages were read out of order and out of context. Their purpose, to make it seem like we were hired by Allen's defense team to sway public opinion. We were not.
It's pretty clear. Also, just going to remind you again, Miss Weineke, unlike Kevin Greenlee, who you see here, I will not have any shaming of anybody's looks, please. And I do not condone any of that. I know, and I also don't want anybody, people are entitled to listen to whoever they want to. But I will tell you, Kevin Greenlee is the only attorney mentioned in this little news snippet who still has an appearance in the murder case of Richard Allen on file, not Kara Weineke.
Kane and Greenlee say some of the messages in the group chat bring up ethical concerns of potential juror tampering.
Okay. It's been a few days since I watched this and I forgot how. Okay, so I want to do just a little recap, okay? Because I think that now that we're here at this juncture, I need to do a little recap. I printed something serious. November 2022. Public access attorney Meg Christian files a brief in order to try to give Richard Allen and everybody a fair trial because sunlight is bleach. Nick McClellan, in that same Fox 59 article, said, quote, media coverage in the news is likely to produce prejudice in the community, making it impossible to have a fair and impartial jury to ensure all parties have a fair trial. What they're fixing to talk about was a private chat between people who were not parties to the case. Weineke and the other unnamed attorney were in the past tense. These two, Kevin sitting there, I can't believe he sat here and of course I can.
Particularly when Weineke and the others talk about giving YouTube internet sleuths surveys filled out by potential jurors.
Okay, a note here. I'm just going to get out in front of Anya before she steps in it. I do know that there was talk of, which is normal, right? What they're talking about is doing background checks, right? So what they're talking about in this group, in this due process gang, these people that want due process, what a bunch of dirtbags. It's just like looking over and doing background checks. I think the conversation, and part of the conversation that Kane and Greenlee left out of their extensive murder sheet coverage of this ethical violation, is that there was talk of farming it out to law students. And you know what? Legal clinics at law schools do that kind of shit all the time. They didn't mention that. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's not a breach of any ethics. It's not jury tampering. And so these people have set a narrative now, haven't they? Talk about tainting a jury pool. Because who went on day after day after day after contacting Richard Allen, who was factually innocent in violation of 4.2 and common decency, went on to trash talk and tell, and Wish TV, shame on you. Shame on you, Wish TV. What the hell's wrong with you? come out and have the gall to say these people in private conversations who aren't a party to the case are tampering by going through jury questionnaires. And they got away with it because you know why? Because Nick wanted a fair trial for everybody because of the media coverage in the news likely to produce prejudice. I wonder if he means actual prejudice. Jackasses.
You can do background investigations on them.
Where this becomes uncomfortable is when you're bringing in internet sleuths who are not even from Indiana to do this with zero training. I think even if they're signing things like NDAs, that should give people pause, because in the Delphi case especially, internet sleuths do not exactly have the best reputation.
Here's what I'm going to say. The entire book that they are writing, and I cannot believe that they are still getting a pass on this book, is predicated on the terrible ethics, the absolute wanton disregard for justice of internet sleuths. Kevin Greenlee is a licensed attorney in the state of Indiana. As he sits here right now, as his wife sticks her foot, the totality of her foot, into her entire mouth, has a limited appearance in the murder trial, case number 08C012210MR1. Still has it on file. While he's sitting here, while Anya is, oh my God, these people. It gives you pause. I don't know. I don't know. But I wouldn't want to be anywhere near this.
As far as ethics or, not harassing people.
Not harassing people. Do we want to talk about that? I didn't think that this was going to go this way, but I'm so pissed. Ethics. I've already covered off on that. I mean, what are the ethics? Whatever. I'm not going through it again. Harassing people? Does anybody remember that thing I did last week about them being implicated in a false ISP report that called in a welfare check, a de facto swatting on one of those internet cranks who they obtained all of these statements from, all of these backdoor chats? You want to talk about harassment? They had to keep doing it because it's the nut graph, it's the heart and soul of their book. I mean, the thing is that if you don't keep stirring the pot behind the scenes while trying to look down your nose over the harumph ethics, these people were the sole manure spreader for the state of Indiana. Listen, all Meg wanted to do in 2022 was to ensure that there was public access to public trials, to an order that Richard Allen got a fair trial, which is the fucking bedrock. But these two, this is the mouthpiece. And it's, this could be any case. This could be any one of us. This may have been some of us in the past. the way that they went after a legally innocent man and his defense team, a bunch of internet cranks. Here we go.
In a statement, Weineke told me, I expressed doubt that the defense would have time to vet hundreds of jurors before the May trial date. A friend offered her help. I said I would let the defense team know. I did. They said no. That is not jury tampering. The Murder Sheet podcast says the group chat also reveals the strategy of the defense team by talking specifically about how they plan to discredit the ballistics expert who matched the bullet found at the scene with Richard Allen's gun. Weineke pushed back on that assessment as well, saying, I did not reveal that strategy. The defense revealed it on page 2 of their press release before the gag order. They revealed it again in their ballistics motion. They revealed it repeatedly in their court filings. Richard Allen will be back in with more.
So, I will note here that I did speak to a couple of the people, more than a couple of the people that were outed in their 3-part series on all of this, jury tampering and internet sleuths and, oh my goodness, ethics. There's 3-part story in the run-up to the trial when they're very, very worried about the jury pool getting the wrong impression or perhaps, having their own thoughts. They went on to say, I believe, in one of those, again, it was a 3-part series, which was just gross. It wasn't news. It wasn't journalism. It wasn't newsworthy because what Kara said there at the end, she told them, she's like, yeah, there's no strategy here. We didn't reveal strategy. I think you must be thinking about the press release and some of the filings. I don't know. Was it in a secret filing, Kevin? No, it wasn't. But you can see the questions it raises when a person is a party to the case, when they file a limited appearance. What I was told is that, and let's move on, actually. I'll show you this next doodah. So again, okay, sorry. Let's go back a minute. So here we are. Okay, so this is when they're like, holy cow, oh my goodness. Oh, I wonder if Richard Allen is going to plead guilty. No mention of contacting him the prior week, but they would have probably gone. Okay, I can't. So this is on the 23rd of April. Still on the case, still on the case, still on the case, still on the case. Then we come to August 27th. Now, this is when there's a yeeting of superfluous lawyers from the case. Now, you will see Margaret Christensen, Daniel Byron, Jessica Meek, Kevin Greenlee, David Hennessy, Kara Weineke, and Michael Osbrook. Okay. Now, one thing I want to point out to you again and remind you, there's only one person on there that has a podcast. There's only one person on this list that reached out to Richard Allen without any permission from his counsel. But also, I would like to point out, because Miss Weineke does not do things wrong, is this. One moment, please. Kara Weineke filed. Let me remove this. Okay. Kara Weineke, as you can see here, she came onto the case in, I think, at the beginning of November, or whenever she did the original action. What this is what every lawyer who files a limited appearance should do. And that's something called a notice of completion. Okay. Here we have it. 11/28/2023, notice of completion of representation. Kara Weineke, limited appearance. Hey, baby, come here. It's my cat. Limited appearance in counsel now respectfully notifies this court, pursuant to trial rule 3.11, that the limited scope of her representation in this matter on behalf of Richard Allen has been completed. That's it. That's what you do. Oh, kitty, come here. So I don't know why she's still on this list, because she was already gone. So maybe we all know that the docket, the CCS, has been primo, right? Come here, cat. Sorry, cat break. Yeah, so, I don't know. It smells kind of bad, doesn't it? One of the things that's concerning too. Well, it's concerning about the way things filed or didn't get filed in this case. But one last thing I want to talk about with murder sheet specifically. So finally, they've been yeeted, right? So we see that there. Again, the erroneous Miss Weineke. And again, none of these people have podcasts. Let's see. We then move back to the last conversation that murder sheet attempts to have with Richard Allen, and that's in September of 2024. So here we have them being finally 14 months later. Okay. So here is, now they're finally off of the case number. But they contact Richard Allen on his tablet on the eve of trial, because this is like, I think September, I can't quite read it. September like 29th or something. I don't know. It's late in September. And ask him, hey, so we heard that your wife is fixing to leave you because she believes that you did the thing. Let me see if I can find the exact wording. It's kind of hard to read from there, so let me see. You guys get the... Okay, so this was sent on 9/14. So this is from Anya Kane. And this time she identifies herself as a journalist in the relationship column. Hello, Richard. We want to say we very much appreciate you accepting our request. Our names are Anya Kane and Kevin Greenlee. We're journalists. We always want to make sure the information we put out is accurate. We're reaching out because some people who have spoken with your wife, Kathy, have reported that she said your marriage is over and that she believes the confessions you have made. We were just wondering if that's true, what's your reaction? Yikes. And I'll note here that they did not put any money on his books. So they didn't care, in my opinion, as an actual journalist. If you want somebody to respond, you're going to put money on their books, like they did in April when all of them were on the case. So just the week following this, and this is the part where I would like to suggest is what I would call, one moment, please, the consciousness of guilt phase of the my presentation. So it was in a podcast the week after this, I think. One moment, please. Podcasts. Here we are. Let's look. I think it's called Lithium and Lies. No, is that right? Shit, that's not it, I don't think. Hang on. Y'all, I was doing so well. There was a podcast they did like the week after this, I want to say. And it's important to hear how they couch this conversation or this reaching out to Richard Allen and compare it to how they didn't mention that they had reached out to him about his case. Let's see. Boop, boop, boop. All right. Where is it? Sorry, everybody talk amongst yourselves. Oh my God. I'm just like, these people. A lot of content they're throwing out there about how bad the defense team is, how shady everything is. God, they love themselves some Odinism. Here it is. It's called A Field Trip and a Motion to Compel. And it's from September 24th. So they contacted Richard Allen. Hey, your wife thinks that you did it. Do you want a divorce? We know you're getting ready to go to trial, but hey, how do you feel about that? Then on the 24th, they do their show. And let me scroll all the way down here. Okay. So and I'm just going to read it. I'm going to read the transcript here. Ooh, I'm out of frame. So I can throw it up here, I guess. Okay. So this is this is Kevin reading. or speaking. So before we go, I wanted to mention something for whatever it may be worth. And I'm going to choose my words very carefully here. So recently on the internet, citing their source as the internet, that hardcore source, I want to choose my words carefully. Recently on internet, there's been a story circulating, and this is a story that's not directly related to the facts of this case, and therefore it's not covered by the gag order, but it pertains to something. It pertains to something that Anya and I think all of you listening would want to know about, and would want to know if it was true and accurate. We didn't feel as if we could come on and talk about the details of this story with you here on the program unless we knew for a fact it was indeed accurate. And this is the hey, Richard Allen, your wife thinks you did it. We heard that she's divorcing you. This is the newsworthy story that they were telling. We didn't feel as if it would come on and talk about it unless it was accurate. So we reached out to text Kathy Allen, the wife of the accused killer, Richard Allen, and we asked her, is this accurate? She did not reply. And then at that point, as you may or may not know, Indiana has a mechanism in place which allows you to communicate electronically with the people in different jails and prisons across the state. So we set up one of those communication systems, got approved, presumably by Richard Allen, and we got approved to communicate with him. And so we sent him a message about this story, asking him just, is this true? Is this not true? Do you have anything you can tell us about it? He did not answer. But a few days after we sent that message, we got a notification that we would no longer be allowed to send messages to Richard Allen and that our access had been cut off at the request of his attorneys. So make of all of that what you will. But we wanted to share that with you in the interest of transparency. Oh, yeah? Make of that what you will. Perhaps Richard Allen's attorney, and I'm just spitballing, if they saw that your asses were contacting their client in April, maybe they were like, no, it's 2 weeks or 3 weeks before trial. We ain't doing this with you. I mean, the idea that do they think that people are just straight up stupid? Because it's obvious, right? It's obvious why a defense attorney would not want a journalist calling their client on the eve of their double murder trial. Make of it what you will. It's just, I don't know. And that's all I got. I mean, you guys, it's just so gross. And yeah, I don't know, man. Does anybody have any thoughts? It's a big deal. It is a big deal. There's a couple other rules that might come into play. They're not as clear cut as 4.2, in my opinion, as a journalist covering fuckery for 2 decades. Rule 3.6 is about trial publicity. A lawyer who is participating or has participated in the investigation or litigation of a matter shall not make extrajudicial statements that the lawyer knows or reasonably should know will be disseminated by means of public communications and will have a substantial likelihood of materially prejudicing an adjudicative proceeding in the matter. Trial publicity. You know, a lawyer who is participating or has participated in an investigation or litigation of a matter not make extrajudicial statement that the lawyer knows or reasonably should know will be disseminated by means of public communication and will have substantial likelihood of materially prejudicing an adjudicative proceeding in the matter. So for 14 months before he was removed, I mean, regardless, but as a lawyer, you're held to a higher standard, or you should be held to a higher standard. From his limited appearance being filed in June of 2023 until August of 2024, how many podcasts did they put out about Delphi? How many podcasts did they put out who put out making extra, so extrajudicial is outside of the courtroom, right? How many extrajudicial statements that could be disseminated by means of public communication and will have a substantial likelihood of materially prejudicing an adjudicated proceeding in the matter? How many times do you think that they mentioned a case that they were participating in or had participated in? How many times? Reasonably should know. Will have substantial likelihood. Prejudicing. I don't know why I can't say that. Materially, the adjudicated proceeding in the matter. So that one might be harder to nail down, where 4.2, it seems pretty straightforward, but right? I mean, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. Does anybody have any questions? Because I don't know if I have answers, but I do think one of the things I wanted to say briefly about too many to count, too many questions to count. Oh, we don't want to ruin, I don't want to ruin anyone. I think that, I mean, I get it, you know, and I will say this, it is infuriating. It's infuriating. It's infuriating knowing what we know about how this trial rolled out, knowing what we know about what skullduggery. I mean, you know, knowing what we know, I get it. But, you know, I also have to believe that, you know, the arc bends towards karma driving a big bus and knowing where you live. I mean, right? I agree. I mean, I think that I think that anybody in a position that requires a higher ethical standard, or if you have to take an oath to do your job, or, you know, to get a licensure, you should be held to a higher standard when you're speaking publicly, right? When you're speaking publicly about, and lawyers specifically, because it is so critical to actually receiving due process. Even though that woman who is an Indiana representative said, if you do the crime or if you break the law, no due process for you. That's, you know, there should be consequences. And I mean, there are, just like you can, you know, let's say my dentist pulled out the wrong tooth. I don't know. I could file a complaint with the tooth dentist, the tooth fairy board, or whatever it is. You know, I mean, there are reviews for a reason. To me, it's weaponized hypocrisy. They know they're doing it. They know they're doing it. It's but it, hi Dr. Vonda, but it shouldn't be, right? Shouldn't be the status quo. You know, so yeah, I mean, the thing is that there's First Amendment rights to speech and what we are guaranteed, and that should not be futzed around with. But that's not this in this situation. That is not this. There's like actual little rules, right? There's actual rules. Great question. We wouldn't know if there was, because those are not publicized unless they result in something. But, you know, I don't know. Wait, what's this? I don't know what this means. Can you? That's not the case. And I know personally, they make you sign a waiver before they pull any. Oh, the tooth. Bad example. Okay, fair enough. Let's see. So what else? What else is? I don't know. It's screaming into the void, right? I mean, the thing is that I can only operate with the things that I'm presented with. I can only make an educated guess. I mean, personally, I think that they probably acted more than unethically. I think that swatting, or at least being implicated in a swatting, trying to sue people for copyright strikes or for copyright infringement, trying to take somebody's professional license away by filing a frivolous lawsuit. I mean, I would say that in the grand scheme of things, maybe I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot to answer for, but it's going to come down to, somebody doing something about it. The state of Indiana is not going to investigate that SWAT. They're not going to investigate it. I mean, he'll probably, if anybody ever filed a complaint to the bar, we would probably never know about it, and it's not anything that's going to result in any real consequences. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, and I think that's true. I do think that's true. Oh, all right. Nick crying for letting the girls down. He let us all. Yeah, I mean, God, I can't. I mean, somebody else is going to have to rant about that. Let's see. Anybody else? Yeah, RA was vulnerable. That's one of the reasons I found it just generally disgusting. What else? Anybody? We should all write up what? Oh, I don't know. Well, it feels okay. I mean, it feels helpless, but I think the thing is woo, first of all, it's all, I think honestly that the Delphi case is all they got. Now, that doesn't make what they did right. But I think that when Nick McClellan, the more actionable thing, in my mind, is that when Nick McClellan said that he wanted to be a judge or run for judge, people in Indiana need to, organize to keep that from happening. Look for other ways you can make an impact, right? So again, if you're in Indiana, Gull is up for election, I think next year. Is that right? I might be making that up. Yes, he is. Nothing has changed, I believe. Oh. I'm still waiting for more information on that whole swatting incident, because that's potentially a federal issue. And I will note that there were some people that came out after that. I talked about that and we're like, just do better, trolls. It's so funny. But yeah, I mean, if you're in Indiana, make sure the people who say they're gonna run for judge that aren't fit to sit in a court of law, you know, don't run. Make sure that people know, you know, advocate. And I think the biggest thing at this point is to advocate for the exhibits to be released, because I was listening to, like I said, Nick, I have email, but I haven't had a chance to yet, but oops. So when I heard, and I think I heard this right when I was listening to Nick earlier today, Nick Starro, the guy that took one for the team. Let me just play. I asked him if I could play a little bit of his thing, and we can end on this. Hold on. There he is. Okay. See that? Okay. So I queued it up to where he's out here doing the Lord's work, listening to HTC.
But that's besides the point. Well, that was just a remark regarding why are these people getting evidence the rest of us don't.
So HTC is getting evidence. Let's see that again. Hang on. I think that's what he said.
People who should be able to think with a critical mind and actually evaluate the evidence, all of it, and not kiss government ass, as I believe HTC is doing. But that's besides the point. But that was just a remark regarding why are these people getting evidence the rest of us don't. Then she claims that McLeland says that public deserves to see this. If he had any interest in allowing the public to see all the evidence, he could have filed for a public trial himself, allowing it to be televised. But he didn't. So this transparency thing that he is claiming is this tiny bit of transparency that speaks in favor of him.
I mean, get over here, cat. Just to add on to that, in 2022, Nick McLeland told Fox 59 that he was seeking a gag order on virtually anyone connected to the case, citing inaccurate media reporting and, say it with me, media coverage in the news is likely to produce prejudice in the community, making it impossible to have a fair and impartial jury to ensure all parties have a fair trial. Transparency is the enemy of fuckery. They don't want that. They don't want that in this case. They don't want it in so many other cases. And it's so important. It is so important. And I think Nick is takes a, I don't know how he can walk down the street without feeling like a total shitheel, because full stop. I mean, God. So anyway, I think that's it for me. Oh, you're here. Oh, hello. Right? I know. It's like, that's the other thing. It's like, it wasn't a leak. It wasn't a leak. Nah, nah, nah. Nah. Wasn't a leak. And they want to keep beating that drum, you know, because it makes it just sound like, ew, the defense is still gross. I mean, truthfully, that's another thing. It's like, has anybody considered, I don't know, should McClellan be out there yapping and yapping and yapping about all his trial, this and that, and whatever, making all these bullshit claims when we have the appellate process? I mean, I don't, because he is the state, and this is what matters. The thing is there is nothing precluding the former defense counsel from releasing the public exhibits. Nothing. Or talking about their experience on the case, or talking about what went wrong, because they're not on the case, and they probably will not be on a retrial if and when that happens, if it happens, right? The state is always going to be the state. I mean, the state is always going to be the state. They need to be held to a higher level of account. The government is not your friend. The government, when they have you in the dock, it is the defense attorneys that are the only thing that's stepping, and good transparency, right? Release the exhibits. Release them. Get over here, cat. What are you doing? Ooh, I turned red. All right. I mean, I think honestly that I've got to go lay face down on my bed for a while. Come here. You want to say hi? Did you poop? She always stares at me when she gets done pooping. Go ahead. Get over here. Yes. And she does a barrel roll. This cat. My God. It's sickening how much I love this pet. Get over here. It's your poopy butt. All right. I'm tired. It's been a weird one. What are you all up to later? Anything? You can always get a hold of me at andy@andykopsa.com. And yeah. Everybody gonna have a good night, good morning, good whatever. I appreciate everybody showing up. I'm going to go back and put in time codes because I think that that's helpful. Ooh, fostering a 3-year, you bless your heart. That is a lot. And thank you to my delightful mods, woman. Oh, sorry, woman, judgy. I don't know who else was here. Was anybody else here? But you guys Y'all are great. Y'all are some damn cool. Oh my God. Wait a minute. Can I get an amen? It is Sunday. Woo! Lord. Atta girl. Hilarious. Oh no, we have a foul. Oh no, I'm sorry. Aw. That's terrible. There she is. Okay. Thank you, Judgy Judgerson. Thank you, woman. You guys are great. Nobody cares, Nick. That should just be the scroll, right? Nobody cares, Nick. Okay. That was my cat again. Thanks for spending the eve or the early eve with me. And I want to make clear that my bookcase is actually even, but this is actually on a slant. Okay, that bookcase, as well as that bookcase. Symmetry. Yes, it's a snotty dig, but it's a snotty book dig. It's fine. Everybody will be okay. So thank everybody for being here. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry about the poultry injury. But you know what? Just never forget that I hate you guys the least.